Hello, and welcome to Victoria's Cantina, where today we're having a look at the Bandai Tamashii Nations movie realization Star Wars Sohei Darth Maul. So I was really drawn to this because I haven't collected this line before. I know it's been around for a couple years now, and Bandai's been doing some really great stuff with it. I love the Japanese feudal influence, especially having been to Japan and really fallen in love with that culture and its history. I think that this is a really cool line. So I'm really excited that this is my first foray into the movie realization line. Darth Maul was recently released, so I thought he'd be a good way to get into the line and check it out. The box, as you can see, is very nice. You get a very nice image there of the figure. It's got a very nice matte feel to it. At the back, it gives you quite a few different looks at the figure, as well as what all is involved with it. You can see the two different aesthetics for the head. Talks a little bit about the molding and that it's movable, but I don't really know what it says beyond that because it doesn't say in English. Option parts and a lot of information there that would probably be helpful if you could read Japanese, which I cannot. And this is actually pretty cool. So it has a kind of like a slipcase sort of thing on the top, and when you pull this off, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and we get a little booklet right here with some instructions and information about Darth Maul. And then if we look at the figure itself, you can see that it is encased in this very protective plastic. And I'm going to go ahead and spend a little bit of time, get this unboxed, and we'll take a look at the figure as well as all the accessories that he comes with. And here is the figure out of the packaging, and as you can see, just a very dynamic looking piece. There's a lot of detail to be seen, really cool looking face, really nice coloration to it as well. And this is a sizable figure. It's not a 6-inch figure, it's a little bit bigger, and if we measure, it's going to be coming in at about 7 3/4 inches tall. So it wouldn't scale up with your SH Figuarts or your Star Wars The Black series. But personally, I don't think I would mix them together anyway because this is completely different. It's the kind of thing that you'd probably want to have on a separate shelf. And if you had multiple of these movie realization Star Wars figures, you could create a neat little display using those figures. But hey, when it comes to toys, there really aren't any rules, so obviously you could do what you want to do with them. But again, very nice detail on the figure. It's looking really good. There's a lot of nice little metallic details there. And interestingly, this almost looks a bit like Savage Opress from Star Wars The Clone Wars with all the armor that he's wearing. So I don't know if there was any inspiration from that, or maybe there was inspiration from the Japanese samurai look onto Savage Opress, but it is interesting to note that there is a little bit of a similarity there. So let me just say that if you thought Darth Maul was scary looking in Star Wars The Phantom Menace, then you haven't seen this figure yet. Very demonic looking in appearance, but I'm really digging it. I mean, it's got a really cool look to it, and like I said, very detailed. I mean, just that sculpt and all of the little intricacies of the texturing going onto the face is quite fascinating to look at. Not to mention the coloration. You can see that it's got a very nice shiny color to the skin. Particularly in the red areas. The black is a little bit more flat. It's still a little bit glossy, but it's a little more flat than the red. And all of those horns on his head, really quite incredible looking. I mean, they're kind of like a gold, but it's not just gold. I mean, you can see that there's a little bit of red at the base of each horn and a little bit of black. Kind of a washing maybe, or a little bit of a texturing going on there. So that is quite cool. The eyes just look so empty, yet they look like they're staring right at you, and that really evil grin that he's got there. It's just so interesting. Even the neck has some nice texturing on it. The rest of the outfit, I mean, looks fascinating. I mean, I really like the robes look. I mean, they maintained that from the film, so he's still got robes going on there. You can see a little hint of skin from his chest right there. And the overall look of the sleeves and even the pants down here kind of retain the aesthetic from the Phantom Menace. Now, of course, it's fully decked out with all the extra armor to give it the warrior look. And I think that it looks really nice. I mean, I'm really digging this color right here, this sort of green color that he's got there for his, I guess we'll call it a belt. I'm not sure what you would call that. And then the silver details there. It looks quite striking. And then you can see there's like a little knot that's tied right there. So he's got these laces that kind of flow outward down here. And I mean, these armored pieces, they kind of look a little bit like solar panels, but I mean, I'm digging it. I mean, I like the way that this looks. I mean, just the all the little sculpt work that's going on in there and the coloring. It looks really nice. Even the arms, if you look at that, very nice metallic look to those gauntlets and to his wrists. And wow, I mean, they really captured a lot of detail in here. I mean, just all that texturing going on there. There really is so much to see. For the legs, I mentioned that it's black pants, but then at the bottom you get these shin guards that match the gauntlets up here at the top. And those are also pretty nice. You can kind of see like the ninja style shoes that he's got going on there. And there's the bottom of them, detailing on the bottom as well. So overall, just a very nicely decorated figure. For the bottom robe, you can see that it is done in 3 separate pieces. That way you can get your movement out of the figure. So that is pretty nice to see. It doesn't really harm the aesthetics overall. I think it still looks really good. Now, in terms of articulation, you do have a ball joint at the very top of the head, and then you also have a neck joint. So it's kind of similar to a figure arts figure in that respect. So it goes down, let's see, up. You can get quite a bit of up, actually. Wow, it's pretty impressive. You can get your side to side, you can get your head tilt, and I mean, he looks scary no matter how he's looking at you. For the shoulders, both of these little panels here are attached with ball joints. You can see the ball right there, and it just kind of moves any which way you want. And he's also got a proper ball joint here at both of these shoulders. So you can go out, you can go forward, and pretty good movement overall. Here at the elbow, you can see that there is actually a swivel right there, and that enables you to rotate it. And then you also get a double bend. So pretty interesting setup there. And then it seems like he's got a ball pin right here at the wrists. At the torso, there is a joint here up top, and you actually get some really good movement out of that. That's really nice. And then at the bottom, let's see. Kind of want to say that there might be a separate joint for, yeah, there's definitely a separate joint, though that may just be the cod piece down here, because you can definitely move that independently. So that is interesting to see. So that is separate from both of the hips, which you do get a split out of, but you do get some of the hindrance from his skirt. You can go upwards almost 90 degrees, not quite, but definitely enough in my view. And the hips, let's see. I was trying to see if they do that drop down thing that figure arts do, but it doesn't seem like they do. Both of the knees, it seems like they have a slight rotation to them, but they actually do have a double bend. And you can kind of see that in there. So there's one ball right there, and then another ball on the top. So that enables you to, I don't really know why they gave it the double bends. The top one doesn't really do anything because you do have that hindrance right there from the back of his pant leg. But I mean, it is nice that he's got it. It just doesn't really seem really functional. And then down here for the ankle, you can bend it, you can rotate it, and it seems like you can pivot it to an extent as well. So overall, very nicely articulated, and it seems to accomplish quite a bit of movement. Again, given the nature of the outfit, it is going to kind of hinder what you're able to accomplish with the figure ultimately, but it still seems totally sufficient for getting the figure into some pretty cool poses. So out of the box, Darth Maul comes with 2 fisted hands. They also included 2 gripping hands so that he can hold on to his lightsaber hilts. And then you also get 2 open hands. And ultimately, I think that's really all that you need. Now, the hands actually aren't too bad to take off or to put on. As you can see, it'll just pop off. And then you can grab your targeted hand and just place it in there. Very easy. There's also this little faceplate type accessory, and it looks pretty cool. It's kind of got a metallic look to it as well, and more teeth right there. And if you take your figure, according to the instruction manual, it kind of seems like you just pry these open a little bit and just kind of slide it over the head. Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty mean looking Darth Maul. You can see his eyes through there. That actually looks a little creepier even, which if you can imagine is actually something that is possible with this figure. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean, I like the mask. I love that you have the option of creating what's almost kind of a different look, very similar, but different enough from the way that he looks without the mask. So you also get Darth Maul's 2 lightsabers, or if you want to call it a single lightsaber, if you connect them both
You could call it that. As far as the aesthetics, they look really nice. You can see that there is a little peg right here that actually does slide out if you wanted it to. Just be careful not to lose it. The hilts themselves look quite nice. Not very reminiscent of his lightsaber from the Phantom Menace, but still a cool aesthetic nonetheless. Very Japanese samurai look to those hilts. I like the coloring and detail on them. You can see that the blades themselves are flat, but they are curved. And they're a nice red color. They are translucent. You can see through them, which I don't know how I feel about that. I kind of feel like maybe on one hand they should be just solid red, where you can't see through them. But I mean, they are lightsabers, and pretty much all lightsaber merchandise for figures has a translucent red, so that does make sense. And what's also cool is that the blades can be removed right here, and they come out with the very top of the hilt. You can do that for both of them. And if you wanted to grab onto that little peg, you could just slide it back into the hilt and get this one in as well. And now you have just the hilt that you could display them with. But it's much cooler with the blades in there, I would say. And you do have the option of kind of rotating things around. This probably looks even cooler, actually. Looks a little more dynamic, like a spinning sort of effect. The lightsaber hilts, though, are kind of hard to get into his hand, I gotta admit. So if you wanted to get that in there, it's a really tight fit, unfortunately. So I find that I kind of gotta rotate a little bit, just wiggle it back and forth before I can get it in. But then getting it out of there is equally a pain. So the lightsaber hilts are actually a little bit of a tight fit for his hands. They do go in if you kind of twist them around a little bit. And as you can see, he can in fact hold the lightsaber with two hands, but it's not the most comfortable fit. So if I were going to display him, I probably wouldn't have him doing this. And finally, you also notice that there is a necklace on the figure, and that comes off pretty easily. As you can see, it just slides off. So if you wanted to display him without it, kind of get a somewhat more movie accurate aesthetic to it, you could do that. But it's a pretty nice looking necklace, so if you wanted to keep that on him, you could do that. It's got some pretty nice copper coloring on it. Kind of reminds me either of Hawaiian hula beads or of Mardi Gras beads from New Orleans. Either way, Darth Maul is ready to party. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so there you have it. This is the Bandai Tamashii Nations movie realization Star Wars Sohei Darth Maul. So I had to look up what a Sohei is, and I found that it is a Buddhist warrior monk from medieval and feudal times in Japan. So very interesting. I like how each of these movie realization figures has its own unique theme, even though they're all obviously rooted in Japanese history and samurai culture. They each have a unique theme, and I think that's pretty darn awesome. Darth Maul is an exceptionally detailed figure. The sculpt work is awesome. The paint work is very nicely accomplished on the figure. He's fully articulated, and it all seems to work very, very well. It would be nice if you could get a little bit more movement out of the elbows, which are kind of hindered by the sleeves, and a little bit more of an ankle pivot. I mean, it seems sufficient enough, but they just don't rock back and forth as much as I would like them to. But either way, you can get the figure into some really nice poses, and that's what the articulation system is all about. The accessories are really nice. I like the removable beads. I think the figure looks good with or without them on. The face mask is a really nice touch, and I think that the figure looks even scarier with it on. It is nice to have that option. And then the removable hands. You have 3 sets of hands, and they're pretty much all that you would need. And then the lightsaber, of course, is really cool. I do like how you have the option of splitting the hilt, taking off the blades, spinning the blades, spinning the hilt. I mean, that's all pretty inventive and, gives you a lot of options for display. I just wish the hilts went into his hands a lot easier. That is really difficult to get him in and out. But on the whole, I'm a happy camper. These figures aren't cheap, and frankly, I don't feel like I need to complete the whole line, but I definitely would like to get at least maybe 2 or 3 more in the series. And I think that would make for a really nice, little separate shelf display. But overall, great figure. Very detailed. I love the intermingling of the Star Wars and the Japanese historical look mashed into one figure. I think that's pretty inventive and definitely a lot of fun. Alright, my friends, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If so, do give us a like, do subscribe. Let me know your thoughts about Darth Maul down below. Be sure to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Subscribe to the Cantina Chatter podcast on iTunes. And as always, I'd like to thank you for tuning in to Victoria's Cantina. Until next time, bye-bye.